The year was 1993, and the only Nintendo console I owned was a Game Boy. I had a small number of games, including TMNT, Rise of the Foot Clan, and borrowed a few Mario games from friends, but nothing ever blew my mind. Well, not until I went to W.H. Smith's, rest in peace, and purchased my first Zelda game, Link's Awakening. I had little idea of the lore of Zelda, aside from the Zelda cartoon.
Excuse me, princess.
And even then, I only remembered Link and Zelda. That's all that really stuck in my mind. I had no idea of what the Triforce was, of what Hyrule or Ganon. Those terms just seemed alien to me, and if you'd showed me a picture, I'd have no clue. So, when I saw this game that Link had been found washed up on a beach on Colin Island, this just seemed like any other island. It was a way where the game started. Like I know to most Zelda fans, they'll have an idea about Hyrule, but for me, it was just the start of any ordinary adventure. Now previously, there had been 3 Zelda games: The Adventure of Zelda, Zelda 2, and Link to the Past, and they were all on home consoles. Miyamoto rejected the idea of a handheld Zelda. Yeah, he was the big boss, and he had the final say on everything. So, a few staff members started working kind of like an after-school project to see what they could do with a Game Boy testing kit. In time, they made a prototype, and that was actually good enough to get the green light from Miyamoto. Now, the original plan was to make a port of Link to the Past, but this got changed into something very different, and I'm very happy they did so. The developers decided to throw all the lore out the window, clearly, to create a new Zelda, one in which a new world was story-driven, more than ever before, and thus, Link's Awakening was born. Now, if you are new to this channel, welcome. Retro Wars does our best to try and do retrospectives on all our video games we used to play back when we were kids. If you like the content, please give this video a like and a comment, and subscribe and hit that notification bell for more content. If you are wanting to hear more of me, Retro Wars is also a podcast where each week we do go through those old games, and you can listen to me wherever you get your podcasts from. I'd also like to give a big shout out to Background Gaming. They're the guys who provide all this footage, and without them, I couldn't make the videos I do. If you're ever looking for background footage, hit the link in the description below, talk to the guys, and they'll be able to help you out. When the game came out, Link's Awakening was originally described as the sequel to Link in the Past. Yes, we have a story. There is this intro story, so I'll read this out. Though you fulfilled the Hyrulean prophecy of the legendary hero and destroyed the evil tyrant Ganon, I didn't, the land of Hyrule enjoyed only a precarious peace. Who knows what threats may arise from Ganon's ashes? The restless people murmured as they knitted their brows and shook their heads. Ever vigilant, you decide to journey away from Hyrule on a quest for enlightenment, in search of wisdom that would make you better able to withstand the next threat to your homeland. After a long and fruitful voyage, you breathe deeply the sea spray from the deck of the ship that carried you home to Hyrule. But your homecoming was not meant to be. Suddenly, a squall struck your ship, and though you valiantly fought the waves, a lightning bolt reduced your ship to splinters. And then you're rescued by a beautiful girl on a beach, Marin, who takes you back to her home to recover. And the story begins. And this is kind of true, but it has since been retconned. So, for those who don't know, not every Zelda game has the same Link. The Link from The Adventure of Zelda and Zelda 2 are not the same Link as A Link to the Past and Link's Awakening. While it is correct, Link did leave to train and search for enlightenment, whatever that means, Link's Awakening takes place after the Oracle games, the Oracle of Seasons and Ages, which is after this adventure, where after those adventures, Link sails off on a boat to which the events of Link's Awakening take place. This also signifies the last appearance of the Link in this timeline, which is called the Fallen Hero timeline. I know it can get quite confusing with so many games, but look, that's for another day. The main thing you just need to know, it's simple. There's no Hyrule, There's no Triforce, no Ganon, no Zelda. Okay? Just Link. On an island. Done. Alright? Link literally awakens and is told to venture out and go to the beach to find his sword. And all he has to play with is his shield. And that's it. The world is yours to explore. Well, sort of. You can explore a small portion of the island as plants and boulders block your way, but you are able to meet the residents of the village. You kind of immediately realise something's weird, as the kids give you instructions on how the controls work, but realise the stupidity of them saying this. A woman who says her baby wants a Yoshi doll. How does a baby know it wants a Yoshi doll?
What's that, lassie?
Are you smoking yet?
And you meet a hiker who tells you you'll find him later in the game when he's lost, which does happen to be the case. Like, how do you know that's going to happen? Are you that reckless with your own performance? You notice a Chomp Chomp outside someone's house, like a dog. There are also animals in this world who will talk to you, but I never batted an eyelid to this one because, as I said, I hadn't played the previous games, and I played Sonic the Hedgehog, so who am I to judge if animals start talking? Despite this, you need to go out and find your sword. This acts as a bit of the tutorial, but what it does is teaches you your shield as an actual item to use, rather than just a piece of defensive equipment, like where you go, oh, you get a defense stat buff. That's not how this works. By holding the button where the shield is attached to, Link will hold it up and fire back projectiles, or he can move enemies out the way. This is something completely different from the shield has done from previous games. And once you find your sword, you are able to equip it straight away and let the fun begins as you go after your enemies. You are then immediately informed by an owl, no, not that owl.
And he'll drive a Corvette and he'll make love every single... Kill him with fire!
The owl says if Link wants to escape the island, he needs to wake the windfish, who is in the big egg. He's in that giant egg at the top of the world. To do this, Link must find 8 instruments found in 8 dungeons. It's the normal Zelda MacGuffins, which I'm very comfortable with. I hate when Zelda games don't do this. I'm looking at you, Breath of the Wild. I need my comfort food because I'm a little baby who needs to be mollycoddled. However, the plot is very straightforward so far. Find the instruments, wake up the dumb fish, done. No bad guy to beat, no big army. That's pretty easy peasy. However, as the story continues, you slowly have it revealed to you that things aren't right. And the big reveal, spoiler, I'm putting this out there now, spoiler, is that the island is nothing more than a dream. And by completing your task and waking the windfish will cause everyone on the island to cease to exist.
What?
This was a huge reveal for 7-year-old me, and one which made me very sad. All dreams have to end. But sometimes we want to just stay living in that world because it's so much fun. And also, once a dream ends, we nearly always forget what happened. Like, instantly we can forget what happened in a dream. There are not many dreams that stick with me throughout my life. And the weirdest one I ever had was playing a death ice hockey game, don't ask, where if a curling game touched you, you died. It ended up touching me and I became a spirit straight away. And then Scorpion tried to kill me. I know this is getting weird, it's a dream. But he couldn't because I was already dead. He then did some spell and revived me and then did his come over here move and it forced me to wake up. So I ran to my mum for a cuddle. I was 25 years old. No, I wasn't. I was 23. Normally, though, whenever I see the form of media use it and goes, it was all a dream trope, my mind instantly thinks of one thing. This is because everything I've witnessed doesn't matter. And all the feelings I've invested into said media were immediately redundant because there's no lasting consequences to what have occurred. The only time I've seen this work was an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation called The Inner Light. I know if you're a Star Trek fan, just stay with me, please. Stay with me. Basically, the crew come to a planet and a probe emits a beam of light into Jean-Luc Picard. He then finds himself on a different planet and is confused to what the fudge is going on. The residents of the village convince him that his name is Kamin, and the adventures in space was just a dream, as if he's on a fever. Yeah, so the Starship Enterprise was just a dream. Jean-Luc Picard eventually starts to adapt as life as Kamin, and lives a lifetime in the village, going on to have a family. He ends up finding out, though, the planet is dying, and he's trying to argue that it's going to go to hell, you need to listen to me, but the people don't listen. But near the end of his life, when he is about to die, it's revealed to Jean-Luc Picard, or Camin, so the people he's grown up with and loved and cherished knew this was actually happening. So they sent a probe into space which could find someone to teach their culture and life to, so the lives were not forgotten. Picard then awakens back on the Enterprise, where only 25 minutes have passed, but for him it's been a lifetime. He then receives a little flute, which he's able to play because he learnt it as Camin. Now this is how you do a dream sequence, because the character had gone through so much, and carries the memories of what happened, and makes sure the memories of the people from the planet are not forgotten. Like, the man had a family. They weren't real, but they were real to him, and saying goodbye to them would be devastating. I couldn't imagine how I'd feel if I woke up right now and was told my life was a complete lie. And this is where Link's Awakening excels through the story. Link and the player develop strong bonds with the inhabitants of the island. The game forces interaction through the quests, and it helps tell that story. Like in the manga, yes, there is a manga. I have a box of them. Okay, Link's Awakening isn't there, so off to the internet I shall go. Link realises this is all a dream and abandons his quest, as he knows that finishing it all will mean the end of the residence. He berates the owl and the fairy for lying to him. Yeah, there's a fairy in this. As he has developed romantic feelings for Marin and tries to run away with her. But invisible force stops him leaving, which confirms the truth for him. However, after time, he realises he has to go back to the real world. But Marin, the one woman who actually gives you any attention. Oh, the series has always been quite aloof when it comes to the relationship between Link and Zelda. But here, there's definitely something. Marin tells you about her dreams. Oh, that's so meta. And you can connect with her. There is a clear relationship between the pair. One which I don't want to destroy, but sadly you've got to if you want to finish the game. She even sings for the animals and teaches you the Ballad of the Windfish, the song that will kill her.
Emotional damage!
Again, I was 7 years old. Upon defeating the game and defeating the final boss, Link comes face to face with the egg and plays all the instruments, and the Windfish is awoken. With the Windfish now being awoken, the dream begins to come to an end, and all the residents of the island start to fade away, with Marin becoming the last to go. Link awakens on a piece of shipwreck and looks above to see the Windfish flying above him, and so ends our tale. Little 7-year-old me couldn't cope with what I had done. All those bonds, I'd broken them. I felt my little childhood was ruined. Like, don't give me that Marin came back as a seagull. That doesn't help me. Like, why would you want to come back as a seagull? Like, Majin goddamn Buu, who killed billions of people, got to be resurrected as a small child because Goku asked nicely. But beautiful, kind Marin, no. She gets to come back as a bird living off scraps for the rest of her life. Don't do this to me, Nintendo. Little 7-year-old me can't take it. And being a 7-year-old, I needed the direction of where I needed to go spoon-fed to me, which was thanks to the owl. Each section would usually involve doing a little quest to find a key, which would then open the dungeon for me to go explore, get a new item, beat the boss, gain an instrument, rinse and repeat. Now, I enjoyed finding the keys as I felt it was like their own little dungeon, especially taking the Chomp Chomp out for a walk as it could clear the way in the swamp region. It makes me think of what it would be like to have a Chomp Chomp as a pet. Now, for one section, you need to revive a chicken with the power of the ocarina. How that makes any sense, I don't know, but hey, we're living in a dream world. But also by doing this, it helped the pacing of the game. It meant I had something to do, and not getting confused by what to do next, and it didn't drag too much. Now every time I did beat a dungeon, my first step was to go through the whole map with the new item I'd obtained, and see what areas I could now access. And what type of game is this? Oh yeah, a Metroidvania. See, Zelda's a Metroidvania. It is. I will fight anyone to the death regarding this. You get a new weapon or ability, and you progress to areas previously unavailable to the player. How is that not a Metroidvania? But I digress. The staple of the Zelda franchise is the arsenal Link has at his disposal. Within each game, there are always new weapons and toys to play with, and Link's Awakening is no exception. Link has access to tools such as swords, bombs, a bow, a hookshot, a broken boomerang, Pegasus boots, and magic powder. The coolest item from this game, and also the Oracle games, is the rock feather, which allows Link to jump. Now this may seem trivial, but when does Link actually jump? And what the feather does allows Link to jump over pits and enemy attacks. However, it seems great to have all these weapons and tools, but yeah, you're playing on a Game Boy, so you've only got 2 buttons to work with. Yeah, this means there's going to be a lot of going into the menu and swapping the items in and out. And this is also giving me Water Temple vibes from the Ocarina of Time.
Oh man! Oh god! Oh man! Oh god!
The good thing is, I found I could do this pretty quickly, and the process is it takes seconds, if that, so you understand it pretty quick. But the unique thing is Link can unequip his sword and shield, which was unheard of before. So if you want to go on the attack with a rock feather and a bow, go for it. Want the Pegasus boots and a hookshot? Why not? It allowed the player to play how they wanted, but it also meant that each item was allowed to feel as important as any other. But the cool thing was, the system allowed these items to be combined. For example, the Pegasus boots and the rock feather allowed Link to have a little run up and then jump longer distances. The sword and the rock feather gave a jumping attack. The bomb and the bow provided bomb arrows. The Pegasus boots and the sword gave Link a charging attack. In fact, you need some of these combinations to beat some of the bosses later on in the game, such as splitting up this eye into 2 separate eyeballs. You need that charging attack to do it. It's a great little system that came out of what could have been an absolute nightmare for developers. And one of the items you receive is a shovel, which is there to help let you dig for fairies and money, bombs, arrows. I love doing this. But also one of the collectibles this game has to offer. Secret she sells seashells by the seashore. There are 26 shells to collect around Colin, and can be found in numerous places around the island. It will encourage you to dig up, pick up, and ram into everything to find them all. But once you receive 20 of them, you can trade them to upgrade your sword, which is a fantastic prize. And once you do this though, there's no need to look for the other 6 because they vanish from your game completely. See, this is when collectibles actually meant something. I'm looking again at you, Breath of the Wild. 900 Korok seeds. For what? A golden poo? God, I hate modern gaming. The other collectible was 12 heart pieces. You collect 4, and that's going to net you an extra heart container. So you could get 3 extra hearts, which wasn't too bad in Zelda games. Again, looking at you, modern Zelda, I could lose count about the many heart pieces I have to collect. But going around the island to explore for these items, as well as the main quest, felt fun because it's all so well designed. Although with those heart pieces, some of them are very, very easy to find. You simply find the required item in a dungeon and you can get it. But there are some that are just stupidly placed. Like, how was I meant to know there was a secret passage there? Like, how? How in the fudge do I know I need to go underwater at that exact point? Farcical. Often the world gives hints to where there's a secret passage, like there could be a random bit of land, or some rocks that could be bombed to reveal as secret passages. Although, I'm not going to lie, I thought these stairs were actually seashells. The idea of it being in a dream can also be enforced because of the layout of the island. Like, what place can you hold a swamp, a forest, a mountain range, a desert area, and a lake all in one place? They're just not happening. There's a lot of problems there. But I cannot tell you the amount of hours I spent exploring this place and having the time of my life. With the map being greyed out from the start, I was always seeking out how I could find a way to get to those squares I haven't been yet. I didn't have the internet back then, so I just had to explore the old-fashioned way. Aside from exploring, the game had a few mini-games, and 2 of them have become staples of the franchise. The first is fishing, where Link can attempt to make a profit catching some big fish. it's not a good way to make money, but one of the fish does have a heart piece. Now imagine if we didn't have fishing. Oh, we wouldn't have been doing fishing in Ocarina of Time. The other item is the trading game. And you start with a Yoshi doll and trade that with a baby to receive another item, although there's questions there. As you go through the world and mixing with the people who want different things, so it's worthwhile to talk to all the people and keep a note of what they're after. Whilst in future Zelda games the trading quest is a side mission, it is mandatory in this one. And additionally, by doing this you learn more about the island and increasing that bond, which you're gonna destroy. But how do we destroy the island and all the residents? Well, as earlier mentioned, we need those magical instruments, which are found within the 8 dungeons around the island. Now, I love dungeons in Zelda, and due to the power of the console, all the dungeons in Link's Awakening take place on one floor, which people have argued is a bad thing. I don't see it as a bad thing personally. The game introduces the importance of the compass item, which plays a little chime every time you enter a room, and what this means is either a key or a treasure chest yet to be found. Hearing this sound makes you think, whoop, wait a minute, there's a puzzle to be solved. Well, it could be a puzzle, it could just be beat up the enemies, but either way, there is something the player needs to do to get that little surprise. Now, I've never found any dungeon too difficult. I mean, they're meant for someone with the thinking ability of a 7-year-old. Well, I was 7, so I was fine. Each dungeon involves you finding keys, but allowed the player to attempt a dungeon in the way they wanted. So I could walk in and there were doors left and right. I was like, don't give me choices. I'm not good when you give me choices. The one dungeon I did like a lot was the Eagle's Tower, where you had to destroy 4 pillars with a giant iron ball. It was something quite unique as you had to think about you and something else walking around, and it was really quite different from anything I'd done prior in the game. Now, at some point, you'd usually find a new item, which was crucial to carrying on in the dungeon, and would subsequently be used for the boss at the end of the dungeon. Come on, this is Zelda, we all know how this works. Now, none of the bosses really were super challenging, and were rather easily. Some of them, I feel a bit sorry for. Slime Eye needed to be stretched out and then ripped in 2 by the dash attack. That's a bit grim. And the anglerfish could be beaten in seconds before it had the chance to do anything to you. Slime Eel looks intimidating, but if you just hide in a corner, it can't reach you. Right. Did anyone play test that thing? You just kind of sit there, wait for the right moment, and hit it with the hook shot. That's about it, really. That's mental. Even for Cade, you just plant a bomb on its face. Okay, that's just lazy. The final bosses of the game, the Nightmares, were pretty cool, as they were all based from Link's memories. There's one that resembles Ganon, one that resembles Aghanim, is that how you pronounce it? I've not played Link to the Past, leave me alone. In fact, one of the first Shadow Nightmares requires the magic powder to hurt it. Yes, the magic powder is still relevant. Now, going back to the dungeons, some of the dungeons forced Link to go down a set of stairs, and the environment became 2D. And this was a nice little change of pace, and it made the game feel very Mario-y. Okay, a lot Mario-y, because there's Goombas and Piranha plants down here. Surely we've already seen a Chomp Chomp. Yes, there was quite a few cameos in this game. I've already mentioned a few, but there was also a goat who tried to catfish a guy into thinking looked she like Princess Peach. You even had to fight Kirby at one stage. Like, honestly, I didn't know Kirby, so I thought he was a bad guy.
You serious?
I am. I really didn't know who he was. Like, I was at the age of limited games, and also, I was a Sega kid. We keep talking about this. Now, one little funny mechanic I found was that you could steal from the merchant at the shop. Just run right out the door when he wasn't looking. However, if you go back in, he will one-hit KO you. Which makes me think, why are you not waking up the stupid windfish? Oh yeah, because you're not real. But once you wake up, you'll then be referred to as the thief for the rest of the game. Even the windfish will refer to you as such. I had to restart the game because of the shame I did when I was a kid. Now, growing up, I did find a glitch where you could skip the various screens, and this means you can skip through various doors. And it was great fun, so I wanted to see how far I could go with it. And the game started to melt upon itself because I went way too far.
Help! I think I'm melting.
What never melted, though, was my ears listening to this game's soundtrack. I'm in love with it. The intro song is still one of the best for me, and I instantly know which Zelda game I'm going back to. what's quite interesting is before Link gets his sword, here's a different tune. But once he gets it, and the adventure begins, so you get that song that really hits home. Marin would also sing the Ballad of the Windfish, and I always feel bad when I hear it, because I really like Marin. Now, upon release, the game sold extremely well, selling over 3 million copies. It reviewed well as well, often considered one of the best games on the original console, alongside Pokemon Red, Blue and Yellow. In reality, that's all you need to have on the Game Boy. Maybe Tetris and you'll be set. The game did so well, the Oracle games were later released on the Game Boy Color and were day one purchases for me. Now, for me, it remains my favourite handheld Zelda until A Link Between Worlds was released for the 3DS. That is not the end of the story though, because Link's Awakening got a new version of the game, and this was released for the Game Boy Color called Link's Awakening DX, or Director's Cut. This added full colour to the game as a great touch, and allowed each dungeon to stand out more than before. It added the ability to take photos and work with the Game Boy printer. The fuck is that? Did anyone ever use this? Or does anyone still have one of those? Just let me know in the comments. The biggest addition though was an extra dungeon which focused on colour-based puzzles. It wasn't particularly challenging and it was a bit disappointing, but the reward was game-breaking. You got the choice of two tunics. A red one would double your attack and a blue one would double your defence. These tunics made the game an absolute cakewalk. And even still, the story continues, because in 2019, Nintendo remade the game, giving it that 21st century spit shine. People complained how it looked, but I love it and thought it was quite cute. It added way more collectibles through heart pieces and secret shells, but kept the majority of the game the same because it was fine how it was. The game received an overhauled soundtrack to go with the updated graphics, and whilst great, there was one which was absolute god tier. In the original, you find out the secret of the island, and then you have to go to the face dungeon, and the song is very somber. However, in the remake, the composer went full Dark Souls with it. Oh my god, how depressing is that? Listen to this piece. It all sinks in. What your goal is, the consequences of your actions, the lives that must be destroyed. And then you think that every enemy in the game is fighting for their very survival. I got the remake straight away and have secretly been waiting for the Oracle games to be remade in that same way. Although, I'm not sure if Capcom are the ones who have the final say on that. However, at the time of writing this script, there was a recent Nintendo Direct. and Nintendo unveiled the newest game from the world called The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. It used the same art style as a remake of Link's Awakening, where Link falls into a void rift. And as he's about to fall, he sets Princess Zelda free, and she's off to hunt to free him from the void. Now, unlike Link, Zelda doesn't have a sword, but a magic wand that allows her to summon echoes of items or monsters to either solve a puzzle or fight for her Pokemon style. The game will be released in September this year, and how Nintendo hid this is anyone's guess. I swear to God they've got the Yakuza protecting them. Additionally, it should be noted, this is the first time Zelda is the star of the series named after her, so it really is The Legend of Zelda. But despite that, yeah, I know I've got a bit off topic, but just stay with me. Link's Awakening on the Game Boy is a fantastic game. And to be honest, it doesn't really need the DX version or the Switch remake for me to love it, as I thought it was perfect the way it was. I'll still play this game from time to time and I never get bored of it. It's a small, compact little adventure which packs an emotional story which few games can achieve. I will always cherish this game and for the highs it reached, and its ability to make me feel like that little 7-year-old boy every single time. And that's it. That is my retrospective on Link's Awakening for the Game Boy. If you want to hear more of me, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to be notified when our next video appears. And if you want to hear more of me on a podcast, Retro Wars is each week, and you can find that wherever you get your podcasts from. Until then, I've been Danny. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.